Hello and welcome to another production by by Owl Wolfman Womack. Now, I promised you all a video tonight, and this is only the second one that's gone out, so I'm hoping to get a lot of feedback from you on this too. But basically, what are we talking about tonight? We are talking about race cards. I'm not talking about stuff used in NASCAR. We're talking about being called a racist, and we're talking about the blame game, which everybody plays, it seems. So let's start with the first one, the race card. Is it MasterCard? Is it Visa? Do you have a limit on it? Is it like American Express? Is it like Discover Card where you get points off it? No. It doesn't have a limit, but only certain people can use it. Predominantly minority Democrats can use it. I don't include minority Republicans because the Democrats seem to love demonizing them and seem to think that they are excluded from it. Personally, I don't think there should be a race card at all. That's my opinion. Now, what is the race card? I found in my views that only Democrat minority, quote-unquote, minorities use it. Why do they do that? Because I think they want to make themselves feel special. They want to say, hey, I've got this, you don't, na. I feel I'm special. I'm special. No, it just makes you look like jerks. That's all I'm gonna say. It doesn't make any sense why you would stoop to that level. And this is just my view, but it seems insulting that you can put somebody in a box, and it's just like it encapsulates the minority view. Not the minority view, the main democratic view of minorities so well, because it's saying, you need to think this way. You have to play this because it's the only way you're going to get far. Is to say, look, I'm this color or something. I am entitled to this, which is basically what the race card is. It's saying I'm such and such. I'm entitled to such and such, and it's insulting. I don't see why more minorities. I only say minorities loosely because we all should be Americans. We should be, Americans first, and then whatever we are else second. Like I'm an American first and a white person second. That should be. If you're black and born in this country, you should be black or African American first. American first and African American second, and so on and so forth. American first, Hispanic second, all that good stuff. The list goes on. But the idea of the left that you have to think this way, you have to think this way, or you fail, or you're a traitor to your kind, or something like that. That's got to be the most insulting thing, most racist thing anybody could think of, is to say you have to stay inside this box. You cannot think differently than us, otherwise you're racist, you're a traitor to your own. I'm not even going to go into the terms that people could use for this. Now, with that in mind, with the whole race card, what it is and what, so then the whole thing encapsulates, we bring on to being called a racist, which is usually limited to only somebody that a Democrat does not agree with. Sometimes you see it on the white. There's the white supremacists love to use it, and that's why white supremacists are a hate group. So we don't like them either. That's all I'm gonna say. People like me do not like them either. But if you are defending the truth, if you are defending the honest truth, what is honest and morally right, and somebody calls you a racist for defending that, they're trying to make an argument against you, and finally they call you a racist, congratulations, you've just won the argument. Because if they're willing to stoop to the level to call you a racist when your argument is sound, when they have not been able to prove that their argument is better than yours to you, and they feel the need to call you a racist, I don't care which side you are on. But when your argument is morally right in all respects, right by the laws, all that, and somebody calls you a racist, you've won the argument. That's all I can say about it. You have won the argument. Congratulations, you have won the arms race, because that's it. Because if they're willing to stoop to that, it means they have lost the argument. It means that's all they have left to play is to demonize you. And it's pathetic. I mean, if you if you stoop to that level, it's like, I shouldn't say if you stoop to that level. If somebody stoops to that level and calls you a racist, that's pathetic on their part. If you stoop to that level and call somebody else a racist for that, you're pathetic. That's all I'll say on there. Now we go on to my favorite part of tonight, and that's the blame game. And why is it my favorite part of the night? Because I get to act foolish about it. By foolish, I mean I get to say things that people say, that's crazy. Yes, that is crazy. That's why I'm saying it. Because it proves my point. Now, you have the different groups, like, I don't know, when Obama took office, I'm just going to use him because he's the most recent example. When Obama took, and he's the most glaring example, back to the point. When Obama took office, he was blaming this mess on Bush, the economic mess, saying, I inherited this mess. I inherited this mess. I, as your president, inherited an economic nightmare from the last president, so it's not my fault. 5 years in, he's still blaming Bush. We elected him to a second term, he's still blaming Bush. They're blaming banks, they're blaming everything. Al Gore blames other humans for carbon emissions and stuff. Forget the fact that he flies a jet everywhere. It's like, wow. I've got an idea. If you're going to blame other people for stupid things that are basically your own fault now, I mean, when Obama was just starting off, it's like, okay, I can understand a little bit. He's a new president. He's just starting off. 5 years into it, I'm sorry. I shouldn't say 5. 3, 4, 5 years into it, I'm sorry. You're on your own. You've been here long enough. You should have dealt with this. You should have taken your own responsibility. So if you're willing or they're willing to stoop to the level to say, it's somebody else's fault. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. I screwed up. It's not our fault. This is happening. Or global warming, it's their fault. It's not my fault. Forget the fact I fly a jet. I take a private jet everywhere. Well, how about I just say, I'm cold. It's Odin's fault. It sounds ridiculous, but it's kind of the same point. Because somebody's saying it's the Republicans' fault. I'm just going to use Democrats because I've seen the most glaring examples of them. It's the Republicans' fault. It's Congress's fault. It's John Boehner's fault. You know how ridiculous that sounds? So I'm going to say, it's Odin's fault. I'm sorry, I'm freezing cold. It's Odin's fault. And people look at me like, that's ridiculous. Why'd you say it? Theirs are not ridiculous. How is what they are saying not ridiculous? How is what they are saying not even the slightest ridiculous? They're blaming somebody else for stuff they could change, or they could play a part in changing. It's like, oh, it's your fault. Well, I turn around to them and say, why aren't you doing something to try and change it? I love this analogy that people use about the analogy of the fireman. The meme, if y'all know what a meme is stuff that they post online. Cute things sometimes. Anyways, one of them was talking, of course, about our current president. And it was, this was when he was saying, I inherited this mess. And the meme showed a picture of I believe it was the Gene Wilder. Willy Wonka. I believe it was the 1970 Willy Wonka. And it had him doing something like this, and it said, firemen inherit a mess too, but you don't see them pouring gasoline on it. If you have a mess, you clean it up. If there's a mess there, you try and clean it up. That's the logical thing to do. That's the smart thing to do. You try and clean it up. You don't blame somebody else for it and walk away. You attempt to clean it up, or attempt to find somebody who's qualified to clean it up. You don't just walk away from it, or you don't make it worse, and then keep blaming the other person for it. That's ridiculous. And so that's what I'm trying to get at with this whole, saying, oh, it's, I'm freezing, Odin, or I'm not strong enough. I'm a skeleton. It's Hercules' fault, or it's Zeus's fault, or it's my cat's fault. People are going to say, no, it's your fault. You need to work out. You need to put a blanket on, something like that. It's your fault. You clean it up. Why should you make them clean it up? It's not that they have no... They're not responsible for this. You're the one responsible for this. So when people say, it's his fault or her fault, especially politicians, when they say, oh, it's their fault, and they don't put a solution out for it, they don't try and fix it while they're doing this, it's like, I'm sorry, you're not getting anywhere with this. You making those accusations are just as ridiculous as me making mine. Because you're making no attempt to try and fix it. Like with mine, okay, I'm cold. I need to put a blanket on. I need to cover myself up with a blanket if I'm cold. I can't say, oh, it's somebody else's fault. It's Al Gore's fault that I'm cold. You can blame Al Gore, fine. It's Al Gore's fault. I'm just going to blame Al Gore because I'm cold. That's ridiculous. So, why blame somebody else for it when you can clean up the mess? When logically you should be clean. If you made the mess or if you play a part in the mess at all, you should clean it up, or at least get somebody who can clean it up. If the economy sucks, instead of blaming somebody else for why the economy sucks, why don't you make an attempt to fix it? And if you can make an attempt to fix it and they are not unwilling to fix it, then you can blame them. Then you can say, yes, they're the ones stonewalling it. You see, here's my plan. Here's all I'm laying out for it. Here's what I want to do. They're the ones stonewalling it. Fine. But if you're saying they're the ones who are to blame for this, and you're not pointing out a reasonable, common sense, logical plan, to here's how we can fix it, you're just as bad as them, and you're just as ridiculous. Just some food for thought. This is Al Wolfman Womack. Good night, and God bless America.